welcome back to the channel, brothers and sisters. Welcome back. This is the witching hour on phase 2 of the Blood Moon. It's night 2. It's Thursday, early doors Thursday morning. I'm here at the symbols in the wood. The winds all of a sudden just decided to. It's been an absolute windless. Last night was absolutely amazing because it was wind free. When I first started coming out, when I started walking all the way up here and stuff, it was pretty windless. And now all of a sudden, the winds just all of a sudden decided to get up. The main thing is there's no foggy, but that going to have a slight issue with the big lamp. It keeps flickering. It was doing it last night as well. Yeah, it's gonna. May as well get the second light. There's no reason for it. It's fully charged, and it's on the dimmest setting that it's the dimmest setting possible. But it seems to be getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. It's mad, absolute madness. Yeah, that's getting annoying. Oh well, I've got a secondary light. We're going to do the urban legend part 2 of the Joltner. The wind's all of a sudden really decided to pick itself up. Quite interesting, that. Really interesting. Because now I have to talk a wee bit louder. So the tree's creaking. That on itself is a bit fascinating. Because it was absolutely wind free, but all of a sudden the weather's decided to change. Because when I look out through the tree line and stuff, the stars are pretty bright. It's still a full moon. The moon's still out. It's pretty cool. The actual urban legend of the giant started with me doing the urban legend of Enoch. I'll only touch on a few things because he was around when the giants roamed and were causing absolute chaos and havoc. That was a long time ago. And then you've got all the different cultures on the planet, like the Polynesians, Scandinavian tribes, some of the African tribes as well, the original South American tribes as well. They all have stories to tell of giants. Well, I'll call them Joltner. And some of the symbols that are I've came across, and I still come across new ones. Some of it is wind damage. The way it's placed is a bit fascinating. But there's also other symbols. There's I'll use a prime example where there's half a tree wrapped around another tree. Well, nature doesn't do that because it's halfway up a tree, but it's wrapped around it. There is actually another forest on a completely different area I'll actually go and show that. I'll do a nighttime well, I'm going to be doing a nighttime experience up there because there's an old farm building, a really old farm building. I was there through the day. I think that's actually one of the last daytime videos, because that really caught me off guard because it was broad daylight and there was two spirits there from two different time periods, but they had something to say. I ended up going back there. There was like things starting to, because obviously I knew about like what time of night the phase of the moon it is, because it is the blood moon was the blood moon's actually technically tonight, just the full moon yesterday. It peaked, and then it started the phase of the blood moon. But tonight is technically the blood moon, night 2, because it's still technically a full moon, which is really interesting. Really interesting indeed. And some of the symbols as well that I come across are also interdimensional. I'll be doing another video on that. I'm going to be going into a little bit of detail on like how the symbols are. I've been asked in comments and stuff like what I think is left, like what's doing the symbols and stuff. It's like I touched on it in last night's an episode last night where it's residual giant energy or Joltner, because there's a lot of giant graves around in the UK. It's quite interesting. It's really interesting actually. And there's nothing to say because they were formidable beings. In corporeal form they were formidable, but they were quite spiritual at the same time. And most to say that they, on certain times of the year, different types of weather. I touched on it last night with the fog and stuff. Like there's a reason why I don't go out in the fog, or if I'm out and it starts to get foggy, I get really apprehensive because I've had a lot of weird encounters in the past with spiritualness in the fog. And I'm not the only one. There's one particular experience I had, and I wasn't on my own. Other people seen it. There was actually more. Like I was in a group of 4, and there was other people. I'm quite high up here, and I just seen a flash of light further down the woodland. So I'm now going to talk about the reason I'm doing a part 2 of the giants is because I've always wondered if they still actually do in parts of the planet. Wonder if they do actually still roam the earth, because there's still parts of the planet where there's no really anybody stays, like in the Himalayas and a few other places. And there's still a lot of places where potentially giants could exist. And then I'll fast forward into well, it's technically classed as a conspiracy theory, but there's too many people have came out and spoke about it, and that's the giant of Kandahar. That's actually really interesting. When you do a wee bit of research and a wee bit of digging on that, it's quite interesting. And I also believe in some parts of the world there is a possibility that the Joltner still exist. And then fast forward recently, in the past few years, well, a few years back, there was a guy that was driving along a highway, and it was a snowy top mountain, and there was a massive humanoid figure walking in the snow. That was really interesting because he ended up getting silenced about it. That was really interesting. That one. A lot of people that have followed that have secretly been told to keep quiet about it. There's been a few instances. And then you've got the disappearance of a guy in the desert in the Nevada desert, where he talks about he's got the channel, say the M Cave. That's actually really worth watching. There's a few different channels that do takes on what it could be. I've got a wee theory on that. There's a possibility that he stumbled across a cave and it was inhabited by a giant, because there's still parts of America where there's giants that could still exist. They just keep a very low profile. And then you've also got some disappearances in the middle of nowhere in certain parts of America. Was to say that some of that is in giants, because the Native Americans still talk about experiences and encounters with the giants. There's certain parts of there's certain national parks and certain places in America where you're not allowed to walk, and it's purely because there's a possibility that some of the disappearances and stuff are done by giants. There's a possibility that some of the Bigfoot sightings, there's a possibility that they actually might be giant. There's one in particular. It looks like a Bigfoot, but has a human face. I thought I've sort of kept a wee bit quiet on that, because there's a possibility that was to say that some of it, like some of the giants, can take on disguises. Because if you read some of the ancient texts in the book, and especially in the Book of Enoch, it very clearly states that some of the giants could transform into beasts and stuff. And you can also look at the ancient Egyptians, where they worshipped giant humanoids that could transform into different beasts and stuff. And then you can also look into the Sumerians. They have the exact same thing. It's really interesting when you start looking and doing a bit of digging into the giants and stuff. A lot of the stuff nowadays does it. It's like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, because there's ancient scripture talks about it. Plus, you've got hieroglyphs that are chiselled into solid granite, and a couple of other stones that are quite hard to work with. But nonetheless, there's and in some of the hieroglyphs they state that there's giants and stuff, and it's like, right, cool. Well, you're not going to etch, because it takes forever and a day to etch into some of the solid stones. And then you've got the best one of all is the clay tablets, the Sumerian clay tablets that they also mention about the Nephilim. And then you've got the tribes of the north, where they mention about the Jotna. And they wouldn't mention or talk about it in folklore and stuff, and have folklore, because some of the folklore has to originate from somewhere. It has to have a source, because there's not all these different tribes and cultures throughout throughout planet Earth that talk about the Jotnar. It's really interesting. It's an interesting topic, but it also puts you on a it also puts you on the conspiracy theorist radar, and it's like, all right, sorry if I'm wanting to research about some of the ancient past, because some of the stuff that you get taught is only brief, and it's always it's very one-sided as well. Because I like to get history and get it from all perspectives, get it all from different angles and stuff, get it all from, and then when you start going to when you start reading about different cultures and looking into different cultures and how they have, each culture has their own story of Jotnar. It's really interesting. Because what's really interesting now with the there's a certain thing happening in a particular country. I'm actually really surprised that there hasn't actually been any sightings of Jotnar, to be fair. It won't surprise me if they all of a sudden decide to show up somewhere. I'm from the UK, and like we've got burial mounds, but there's no any indication that there's any still alive. If there was, they've probably been captured and been held captive, been held prisoner. Because there's a possibility that the giant of Kandahar was also taken. Is what it is. Is what it is. Just the topic on the topic of the Jotnar is really interesting. And then I started walking around and noticing symbols and stuff in woodlands, and then I thought, like some of that looks, some of that is familiar. And I started thinking, like, well, if there's all these ancient burial mounds and stuff, what's to say that there's residual energy? So I have touched on it in a few videos where the like things communicate in my dreams and stuff and warn me about like there is actually like residual energy around here. Like you've got to tread carefully. There's certain parts where I go to and it's like you got to be careful. I've not got the spirit talker on because it sort of distracts when I'm trying to talk about when I'm doing a few topics. I have noticed in watching it and stuff. It's good for entertainment, but I'm going to go on to, because on the way back down, on the walk back down, I'm going to go on to the old school, onto an older camera. I'll have the spirit talker on in the background and just never know what's absolutely just never know, because the creaking and stuff, so from the last time I was here when it was a wee bit windy, it's creaking, but there's no knocking, because the last time I was here there was you could clearly hear it, it's knocking, like there's no getting away from it. And I've been asked, like, what do you think was doing the knocking? And it's like, well, it could be residual giant energy. Never know. I have been warned, like in my dreams and stuff, that there's really old, ancient, older than the Druids. Say the Druids it was the Druid energy that was warning me about the residual giant energy that's around here. And then I started going into different bits of the forests and the woodlands and stuff, and I started coming across some weird and interesting symbols. Because I always work it on threes, like I didn't really want to talk about anything, but then I came across three half trees, because there's one in a woodland that I call Eagle's Wood. There's two different types of forests on the other side of the valley, and up in there's two different trees in two separate areas where there's like half trees wrapped around other trees and stuff. And the wind doesn't do that. The wind really doesn't do that. And it's the same with the patterns that I'm here in front of. Like, the wind doesn't do it. Like, you can clearly see that it's been purposely placed by something. And some of them are placed in balanced, like, really precariously. So when it gets really windy, like it does, they don't blow over. So it's obviously something that knows what it knows what it's doing. And I really highly believe that it's residual giant energy, or another theory is it could be interdimensional, and it being interdimensional was to say that it's not giants that are interdimensional beings, because the ancient scrolls state that they took on different forms. Which is really interesting, because that's the other thing. That's the reason I came out and wanted to do. Well, I was coming out on tonight anyway, but I wanted to do a second part of the giants, because it was getting on to about them being shapeshifters and possibly shapeshifting interdimensional beings, because there is a high possibility that that's what it could be. And do they still exist? Well, never know. You just need to come out, because I come out into the middle of buttfuck nowhere on clear nights. So I look up, and when it's a clear night and all the stars, there's like, when you look at it, if you look at it with an open mind, it's just like, right, well, every one of the bright lights is a sun, and there has to be different planets that are orbiting that sun. Because you really have to be really open-minded to think that we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones. And was to say that they don't travel interdimensionally. It's really interesting. It's quite an interesting. Especially when you go up to Ravenswood on a clear night and then look out. I've got to be mindful, because it is actually starting, like, I'm looking down through the trees and into the lower part of the valley, and it looks like it's getting foggy, and I've got other bits to walk through. Because I was halfway up, heading up to Ravenswood, because I was going to do a second night up there, and I thought, at the last minute, I thought, no, I'll come up here. And at that same time, I came across a couple of white feathers, because I've not seen white feathers for a wee while. I'm going to put the light down and just have that. And just see now. Yes, well. I might need to use the big flashlight on the way back down. I thought it would be quite... when you do looking into the giants and stuff, it's quite interesting, and then you can fast forward and look at some of the modern day accounts of it and stuff, because there's like a couple of people that have Like the best one to look up is the Giant of Kandahar and the M Cave. It's quite interesting actually. The Giant of Kandahar is really interesting because it may or may not be real. In the M Cave with the guy that went disappeared looking for the M Cave. That was interesting. That's interesting. There's a possibility. There's a possibility that he accidentally went into a cave that was occupied, because it could have been occupied by an animal, or it could have been occupied by a giant. You just never know. Because there's been people that have went out looking for him, and they can't find the M Cave, so there's a possibility that he just went missing. It's quite interesting. I love it when there's a full moon looking through the trees, because it's got that. It's really interesting. It's quite spooky. Gives that spooky, eerie vibe. And now the wind's all of a sudden died. It's quite interesting, that. Sit and relax a little bit. Sink it in a wee bit. And the last time I was here, that was a wild night, that. But there was a lot happening in the ether as well. There's still a lot happening in the ether, but it's quite mental. It's quite mental. Absolutely mental at the moment. The world's a mad place at the moment. There's a lot of weird things happening. But hey. Oh, excuse me. And what it's like is because it's a lot of walking happens when I'm out doing these videos. It's quite interesting. And having the theory that it could be Joltner, like residual Joltner energy that's causing it, is a bit out there. But there's nothing there's nothing to say that it's not. It's just a theory. It's just a theory. It's opinion. Because when I get the dreams where I'm communicated, and in the dreams I'm being communicated and warned, like, look, there's the residual giant energy, where they don't act like the communications is it's either Nephilim or Jotna. They don't actually get referred to as giant, they get referred to as Nephilim or Jotna. And it's a residual energy. Well, kind of. There's a part of it that's like, well, it could be interdimensional. Because like I've stated, it's there's some parts of it where it's just not wind, and now all of a sudden the wind has all of a sudden died down. Really strange, that. Because the camera will pick that up. The wind's now died. There's now no wind. Weird. Absolutely weird. But at the same time, I'm looking down through the trees and it's looking like it's foggy. It's going to be interesting. So really, sitting on I'm sitting on bracken and stuff, and I'm wondering why I'm getting a sore bum. Getting a sore bum. Change on it a different bit. Oh man. Yeah, a sore bum sitting on. Can hear deer. Can hear deer off in the background. The residual. That's my take on the giants. It's whether it's a really interesting urban legend. I call them Jotna. There is another terminology, Nephilim. But it's easier just to say giant. But I like calling them their actual true name, which is Jutna. It's really interesting. And the reason I pick it as an urban legend is because there's a possibility that in some parts of the world they still exist. And then you've got like the guy in, it was pretty sure it was in Colorado, where the guy is travelling along the highway and stuff. That's really interesting, that one. To get a wee brief on that, I'll name a couple of channels. If you're interested in the M Cave and the guy that was travelling on the highway and seen a giant humanoid figure on a snowy mountain, the Y-Files, creepy videos. But with creepy videos, you have to go to the beginning, towards the beginning of the channel, and you will come across it. But the Y-Files is probably the easiest one to come through to get some information. But like while you're doing that, there is other channels that will pop up. And there's another, I can't remember off the top of my head, there's another channel that goes really into full detail of the guy and that came across a humanoid figure, because there's a whole load of other things that happened with that guy. And then you've got the guy that went with the M Cave. And then there's the Giant of Kandahar as well. That gets thrown into the mix. You'll come across that if you're looking up the two videos. The two videos are quite interesting. The moon's just came through part of a branch, and I'm just looking up at it going, it's really interesting. Because there's nothing being said about the launch to the lunar launch to the moon, which is quite interesting. That's all of a sudden went hush hush. It was on my feed. I couldn't get enough. Couldn't get enough. Like they didn't show me enough yet. But now it's like it's all it's all went quiet. Just really weird. But anyway. Doing this without the spirit talker is actually quite chill, because sometimes things come through that, and I've got a wee theory on the spirit talker app as well, because my own senses, like to it in here, say it's pretty chill. But I'll be doing a walk around with the spirit talker on a old school format, because you just never know. But I wanted to do the second part of the Giants without any kind of distraction, so that I could say about them being interdimensional beings, because there's a possibility that could be what it is. Because when you start looking to the ancient scrolls, ancient scripture, ancient texts, and even all the different tribes and cultures from different parts of the world, they all say the same thing. They could transform. And there's a possibility that they might still be around. Because I'm being warned that there's residual spiritual energy. And now the wind's completely died. I found that really strange. I got here and the wind all of a sudden got up, and now the wind's disappeared. I found that really weird. And the camera will pick that up as well, because it was really windy, because I had to raise my voice, and I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to just sit and chill and just talk about the Giants. Do a part 2. Touch on it briefly, but it's more about sitting with the full moon and just experiencing what's happening, experiencing the second phase of the blood moon, because this is night 2. It's the second night, and it's still it's classed as a blood moon tonight, which is really interesting. Really interesting. So I can turn back to the light. It's dimmed down, and it's no flickering, because when the wind was up, and that was quite weird. I've got a rough idea. It was like something spiritually knew I was here and was not really wanting me to be here, but I persevered. It's like, okay. Anything can happen tonight, to be fair. I've still got the walk back down. I'll be doing that on an older camera. And walking about, coming up here as well, there was it's quite cool seeing the snowdrops and and the daffodils starting to really come through. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to a couple of I'm looking forward to daytime videos coming out on, and just talking, because there's a few interesting places, and then there's going to be campfire and camping experiences as well, and some barbecue campfire food as well, because why not? I've got a few things lined up for future content and stuff. I've got a few things in mind, and talk about a few things that are see what's happening in the world, what's happening, and talk about it under full moons in the summertime, and camping in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. But I tried that last year and it didn't really quite work. But I'm going to persevere and persevere with that, because I've got there's like a couple of places I could go and do that kind of experience. Be interesting. I also have another topic as well, because I could probably talk about this topic. It's about dreams. Like I've touched on a few dreams. Like I get communicated through my dreams and stuff. Surely I can't be the only one, especially now with what's happening in the world. I'm not going to go into detail about what's happening in the world. You just need to look it up yourself. It's quite mental. Because there's one I touch on in this as well about a massive comet. The comet that's called Apophis. That becomes visible in the next few years, in the next year or so. The giant telescopes that they have around the world pick up what it's already being monitored, but it comes very clear, and then towards the end of this year, going into next year, it becomes visible on a normal telescope. That's quite interesting, looking up the Apophis asteroid. That's real, by the way. That's real. It's no fake news or fake anything. I've got something interesting here. I started writing about something and it came through. To whom they refer to as the All-Father. Ancient texts and petroglyphs, cave paintings all show the same being. And then it's like I'm talking about, I am one with the light is at one with me. It works because you embody the pure light of divine. And it's not for the faint of heart either. It really isn't. And then you get into like what the Romans believed in. Well, the Romans, the actual proper real Roman, they believed in something very, very old. Because they believed in something very similar to the Scandinavian tribes. And it's similar to Sparta as well, the Spartan warriors. And some Greek tribes, they believed in something very, very similar. And it sort of ties up with the ancient Egyptians as well. And where I'm going with that is giant humanoid figures that could transform or shapeshift, depending on what way you want to look at it. And then there's some of the. I'm wondering. I'm curious as to if anyone else gets communicated by a higher being or something divine. I'm always curious if other people get communicated by divine through their dreams. Because recently, in the past few, since I started the journey through the veil, I've never had so many communications from a higher being in all my life, to be fair. And it's really mad. It's really mad and quite interesting at the same time. And I like to keep these videos as authentic as possible. I truly do. How I record it is how I upload. And I do apologise for like if I'm tinkering going into my bag and stuff. It's like I've done it on previous videos where I've paused and then I have to restart the video all over again because the pause ends up getting timed out and stuff, and I'm like, alright, cool. It's quite nuts. Because there's been a couple of times where I'm going to talk about, because I touched on it in a video yesterday, well, last night. Like, there's been a couple of times where I've came into these areas, and I just need to use the first witching hour this year. And that was really weird because I'm here at the moment, right now, on a blood moon. And it's actually really chill. Like, I do get the feeling that there is something there, but it's like it's nothing like what was it? Like it's nothing like before. It's really interesting. Coming here on a blood moon, on the second night of the blood moon, and it's the witching hour as well, which is really interesting. Just getting my head torch charged up. Oh yay! Woohoo! The head torch, the really good head torch, the LED one, say fully charged. Boom. Oh, no, now it's time. See, this is what I mean. Like the fumbling about is because things get tangled up. It's like the absolute chances of that getting tangled. But it decides to get tangled, which means extra fumbling around. And my torch, I'm going to have to go on to the big torch because, well, there's still a wee bit of time, so I'm looking at the video time and I'm going, well, it's only, there's still another 20 minutes of the witching hour left. And not having the spirit talker on is actually quite cool, because sometimes that can be a bit distracting sometimes. Plus there's a few times where there's been a whole load of nonsense like warning me about attic and stuff. I'm in the middle of a woodland in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. And if I can get the LED torch charged up, give it a wee extra boost, just to see. Give it a wee extra charge boost, because why not? Is it charging? Aye. Give it a wee boost. I prefer the wee handheld torch to the big lamp. That's settled down a little bit as well, the LED lamp, because that, when I first put that on and stuff, that was acting really weird. It was like flickering and stuff. And the wind's all of a sudden died as well, which is pretty cool. And I can show the other recording device, the older style camera. That's the type of camera it is. It's really quite old. It's an old style camera. It looks more newer than it actually is. It's just a really, really old camera. An old camera from an older phone. The stabilisation on it and stuff is a bit out there, but that's because it's an older style camera. But it does pick up on, especially on a full moon, it shows things as well. And we'll have the Spirit Talker on in the background as well. Because why not? I didn't want to do it while I was talking about the second part of the giants, because I didn't really touch on a couple of things about them, because there is actually, like, you can look up things, and like some of the disappearances on some of the trails and other parts of the world as well. Like, there's a possibility that it could be. You can't rule out the theory, because that's all I'm really saying it is. It's a theory, but you can't rule it out. You can't rule it out. There is probably other explanations for it, but they've never, because they're still open cases. So that means that it's open to a theory or open to interpretation. And my theory is there's a possibility that it might be like Nephilim, because the Nephilim were perceived back along in ancient scriptures and stuff as a shapeshifter. And it's the same if you read the Book of Enoch as well. In the Book of Enoch, they're clearly described as like they can take different forms. Which is quite interesting. It's quite nuts how the winds all of a sudden died down. That was really windy there for at the beginning of this video. It's really windy. And now all of a sudden the wind's, right now, as I'm talking about that, there's no wind. Just listening into the forest, because you just never know. It's quite cool hearing the owls and deer and stuff, because I came across a couple of deer on the way up here. Because when I came across when I bumped into the deer, there was a couple of white feathers at the bit where I bumped into the deer, and I thought, the absolute chances of that, the absolute chances of the deer being in the field directly, like within a couple of meters of me, and then I looked down to the right on the trail path, over to the right, just on the ground, there's a couple of white feathers, and I thought, the absolute chances of the deer being on the field and the field opposite, and there's a couple of white feathers exactly where that all happened, and I thought, the absolute chances of that happening are you've got more chances. Oh man, the absolute chances of that happening is so. I've just accidentally stood on that. Oh well. I'm hoping they really good investment in this, actually. Really bright. And it doesn't take long to recharge back up again. That's the other thing. It's a bit, because being a bit chilly, these sort of things, the battery life doesn't seem to last very long. Well, on the charging ones anyway, but on the actual battery, the battery operated one would probably last a bit longer. But the battery one has three settings. It has really bright, slightly dim, and then there's a dimmer light, which is pretty cool. Whereas this one is it's bright, well, it's super bright, and bright. There's no dim light. There is like a yellow light, but doesn't really. It's not really any good. We'll see if I can get the yellow light up. It's quite interesting. It's quite a cool feature on this thing. There we go. That's the yellow light. Oh, that's actually pretty cool. That's the yellow light on it. That's the yellow light. That's not the LED bright light. Show it shining up. It's like the yellow light. I'm actually going to give that a wee try. Switch it off the next. I do really need to. It's fully charged. Oh, that's brighter than the LED white light. Holy moly. There we go. Ah, get blinded by the lights. The one's all of a sudden getting up because I'm thinking about starting to get ready to walk back down the trail path with the spirit talker on and see what comes through. I'm also going to walk through another bit of the woodland as well. I've not been there for a while. See what happens. Because it is still a blood moon. It's night 2 of the blood moon. And then I can use the bit of this at the end of this bit of video for. There will be a few random nights to come because I've got a ghost story. I want to tell. I'm going to actually try and do that ghost story with a campfire. I'm going to try and get a campfire going with that one. That'll be in a different woodland, a completely different area. Because why not? And then a few random. Going to try and get a few campfire witching hour experiences with the spirit talker up in Ravenswood. Because why not? Actually get properly communicating with whatever is up there. I'm just letting this one go because I want to make it the full hour. Because there are a lot of people going, oh, well, you did the witching hour, but it's not a full hour video. Because I've touched on the giants part 2, what they could be, like my take on it, through doing a lot of reading and research and stuff. I don't just. There is other bits of research I come across, but. Like even some of the research is a bit out there, and I'm like, well, I'm already talking about a topic that's a bit out there, but it's like that's why I call it an urban legend, because it kind of is. It's like a historical. They're historical as well. They're completely written about, but you're not allowed to go looking and ask questions about it. which is quite interesting. And it's like, why? Why are you not allowed to ask questions about them? Which is quite interesting. Really interesting, because if you start going and try to ask questions about it, it's like, I've done it once with a person, and they instantly just like, they gave that impression of like, who are you, and rolled the eyes, and it was like, all right, cool, I'm just a curious soul, that's all. I'm just curious. I'm just a very curious person. I'm curious as to what, like, because there's certain things in history, and there's certain like things that really fascinate me, like the Egyptian cultures, like the old Egyptians and stuff. That really fascinates me, because there's pyramids and stuff in different parts of the world, and that. And I've also got another, like, I'm really looking forward to being able to do a campfire experience, because I actually have pictures of, I've got my own, I touched on it in a previous daytime video, but I'd love to do a campfire experience and actually show the pictures that I've got. It's really interesting, because in one of the pictures, you might not be able to see it on the camera, but in person, when you look at the picture, you can actually see something. I'm going to get into detail on what that is. That's a future video. And there's a lot of people out there that seem to think that I've never been to the pyramids of Giza, and it's like, all right, cool. I have. I've touched all three of the pyramids, and I've also touched the Sphinx as well. And there's a couple of other parts that I've been to as well. But someone somewhere has been going around going, you just talk shite, or you're just like lying and stuff, and it's like, all right. And this person's quite an affluent person on YouTube as well. And it's like, all right, cool. You've just clearly shown that because he's the type of person that claims that he's no part of this certain way, and it's like, all right, the way he's came after me, it's like, all right, you're just the exact same as all the other ones, all the other people that have came after me, so it's all good. You're just exactly the same as them. You're just exactly the same. And there's and just to put it really out there, it's like I actually also have, like, I'm also a really rare blood group as well at the same time. But people like to think that, oh no, you're not. I actually am. I'm actually rhesus negative. But hey, I know what blood group I am. I know where I've been. I know the trips and experiences I've been on and stuff. But it all comes down to the whole thing of like, well, it's me. It was all like, it was done. It was done before, like, the internet was around back then, but it's nothing like how it is now. And then it's like, well, but it's not on the internet, so it's not happened. You're lying, because it's not on the internet. You've not got pictures of it. Well, I actually do. I actually do have pictures. I kept my own pictures, but like, life takes you on a journey. Like, things happen in life. Like, you lose family members and stuff, and the way I lost the way my dad went, it was the situation that happened after all that, where I wasn't allowed to take anything. I had personal belongings and stuff, and I was like, I wasn't allowed back. But hey, that's just a wee. That happened. That's happened. at the time I had a car, and I had two sports hall dolls that had clothing in it. Clothing in the sports hall dolls. That's all I had. That's all I had. I was completely. Somebody somewhere came and changed, like the I'm not getting into it. It's quite sad. I've experienced the absolutely absolutely amazing side of humanity, but I've also experienced the what the fuck side, the stuff that leaves you like sitting sometimes just like what the actual fuck. Because there's some really, really, really evil people out there. I've experienced it. And then there's people that think that I'm coming out here just to try and look for evil and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not. I enjoy the woodlands. I enjoy the woodlands during the day, and I also I enjoy it because it's a full, like it's a blood moon. It's the second phase of a blood moon. It's really cool. It's quite nuts how there's a certain group of people out there, they really, 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 really came after me. And I just want to know why. Why? But they'll never ever come and tell me why. It always comes back to like my face is never really fitted on any like with anything in life, so it's like it's all good. So then when I do start talking about things, it's like, right, cool, I'll make myself completely out there because why not? I've been ostracised and I've been really put through the fucking shit. Really been put through the fucking shit. And I take a lot of solace in nature. I record some of the experiences when I come out. I've always been interested in the weird and the wonderful and the paranormal, and there's certain people out there that seem to think it's like, well, why don't you go to like haunted locations and stuff? It's like, I've done all that. I've been to these so-called haunted locations and stuff. Aye. There's a terminology and a pun I could use on that, and it's like, right, well, cool. Like I've came to this area here. It's pretty chill the night, but I've also got a video where it isn't chill. It's like last night as well, like towards the tail end of the witching hour last night, things started happening. There is a couple of videos where, and while I'm talking about certain things last night, I was seeing things. And tonight isn't over. I've still got to walk back down. I've got the old style camera to go on to, because I'm letting this run on a little bit just to show people that, look, I am over the witching hour in an hour. I'm just talking about certain things, getting things that I want to talk about. Because no one can tell me what I can and can't talk about. I've got my own experiences. I've had my own. Well, I've had amazing experiences, and I've also had horrific experiences at the same time. Which is why I fully understand. To fully understand light and the dark, you have to experience the absolute. You have to experience the absolute best and worst of both sides. Because there's people out there that seem to think I'm evil and stuff, and it's like, all right. The way I react when things go on, like when things start happening, should be enough to people to be like, well, maybe you're not actually evil. Nay shit, Sherlock, could have fucking told you that, but hey, when you jump on a bandwagon and go, fuck it, you're also going to be dealing with someone that really just I didn't give a fuck. I tried to end I ended because I found out a couple of things last year. They're not the best thing. It's not the best thing to find out, but I found out anyway, and it's like, all right, cool. Could have I knew years ago, but hey, it's all good. You have to officially find out, and when you officially find out, you're like, holy fuck. And then it was like some of the people, some friends and other people, they all warned me. My dad included. They all warned me. Every single one of them. And I'm like, should have listened. But I wanted to make my own pathway, but every single one of the people was absolutely correct. Every single one of them. Which is a bit mad. I really do want to actually, but I'm not going to do it. It's just I found out something completely personal, and life-changing it was. Because every single person a good few years ago all warned me, and every single one of the people was right. And they people are no longer around. There is a few of them that are still around, but all the people that they're no longer here, and it's just like, right, cool. Like, well, I tried to, but I came back. Something brought me fucking back again. So, got to make do or live out the rest of this experience and just see what the fuck happens. I know what I'm here, like I've got a rough idea of what I'm here to experience, and it's just to witness the fucking absolute mentalness. The absolute mentalness. Anyway, I'm going to end this one here. I'm going to end it's well over the witching hour now, and I'm going to put the spirit talker on, come on the old school camera, and do a wee walk back down. It'll be quite slow because the vibration and stuff on that, there's no really any good. It's the only drawback about the older style camera, is there's no really any stabilisation, so I've got to be a slow walk back down with the spirit talker. I will apologise for the yellow light, but I'm going to put the head torch on the yellow light just to see if it makes any difference. Anyway, come join me on the walk back down with a spirit talker on the way back down, because we're going to come here and then we're going to go down, walk around the trails, and then walk back down into another woodland and just see what happens. Come join me on that one, because that'll be, tonight's only going to be two episodes. Well, 3, the introduction, and then the witching, this one, which is the witching hour, and then the walk back down. The main 2 episodes are just going to be, they're quite long, because why not? Anyway, come join me on the walk back down, episode 2 of the Blood Moon, night 2, phase 2 of the Blood Moon. join me on the next one. Come join me on the Spirit Talker on an old school camera on the walk back down. Come join me on that one. Stay safe. Peace.